Now this video was intended to be a loot video on Zul'Gurub and Suleiman, and I think halfway through recording it I got really freaking bored, and I guess this is just gonna be a little bit of a rant. Now Suleiman and Zul'Gurub are coming out tomorrow for Cataclysm, and don't get me wrong, they are pretty decent if you are like pre-raid vesting slot. They drop 353 item level loot, which is way better than you can get in the 346 dungeons. The problem is that normal raid gear is 359. So if you've been raiding in Cataclysm all this time, there is absolutely nothing, even if you are a normal Andy that doesn't want to do heroic, because I don't want to do heroic, people yell at me too much. There is very little reason to be doing this. Now yeah, fine, there is the mount, of course, everybody's gonna talk about the mount. Now, I dare say that these are way less cool than the mounts in actual vanilla. Like, the Raptor is fine, the Raptor looks pretty darn cool and is a little different from the ones, but like, you take a look at the Panther. This is just like the same from the Nightels. It's almost indistinguishable. There's like, not even the color is cool, this is just a little black. You can get the blue saber blade from the Elves CD and it's almost the same item. Now, Suleiman, now this is a lot cooler. We're talking about the Battle Bear, and it looks almost exactly the same as the one in TVC. Some people don't like the color, people prefer the other TVC color, but this one is just fine. Suleiman for the mount might be worth doing. Looking at this guy in a PvP BG, this is pretty freaking cool. There is also a boss that you can only summon with Archaeology. Of course, everybody loves Archaeology, so you're gonna have no shortage of people helping you summon the last bosses. Ha 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 ha. Pretty good one, eh? This is the time where getting an Arms Warrior is even better, because most Arms Warriors had to farm that stupid sword from Archaeology. They might be willing to help you out on this one. One thing I gotta give them credit for is that there is a lot of interesting gear in Zul'Gurub. Now, interesting in Cataclysm gear terms is a little difficult because it's just gear. There is nothing unique about gear anymore in Cataclysm. I could pull up the loot list of like Molten Core now and talk about it for 20 minutes and there will be something interesting to say about almost every item, because every item has like something weird about it. That is not the case here. There are a couple awkward items, for example these leggings, there is like an entire set, and all the set is haste and hit. Now haste and hit is a very awkward combination, because if you're trying to get hit, this is like a pre-raid vesting slot kinda angle you're going for, but people that are trying to get a soft haste cap, they are like on the, that's like the third in the priority usually, or fourth in the priority even for some classes. Nobody that is still looking for a hit cap is gonna be looking for haste at the same time, basically. So all of this is gonna be reforced, and that makes it a little weird. The real positive out of all the new stuff is that there is a lot of items that used to be very awkward. For example, warrior tanks are gonna have a proper gun to use now that has mastery and dodge. They had a gun that had like 2 types of avoidance on it, I think. But of course, if you are a warrior, mastery and dodge are like the most important stats you gotta get in that order. So having to reforce some of that parry away into mastery is not as good as just getting a bunch of mastery. Mastery is by far the most important stat for them. So it's pretty cool that they got like now a viable item they can get before the raid. There is also gonna be an entirely, almost complete Holy Paladin set. As you guys know, Holy Paladins have like probably the hardest time finding gear, because they only bother putting like one item that has caster stats in every dungeon. Not even every dungeon, there is just one plate item that has caster stats for every slot in all the dungeons combined. That makes it a lot harder to get their pre-raid vesting slot, and I think they really needed some love, because yes, if you're a Death Knight or a warrior, there is only like one pre-raid vesting slot, bracers for example, but there is also 2 other bracers that have like a less optimal combination of stats. Maybe one of them has like, I don't know, crit and haste instead of like crit and hit, but you can just reforce one of them. You have like a half decent bracers to use until you get your actual good ones, rolling the dice in a dungeon every day. If you're a Holy Paladin, you get only one shot at getting the gear that you need, and that's it. And that's why Holy Paladins have not been popular for most of this phase. I think at least that's one of the reasons. They are just too much work. They have to work 2 or 3 times harder than everybody else to get to a raidable, raid ready state. And that just sucks. Like personally, I had a Holy Paladin buddy of mine, and he had to basically take a bunch of melee DPS gear just to go into heroic dungeons, because it was like damn near impossible for him to get the gear he needed to even hit the item level requirements. Now in vanilla this wouldn't be such a problem, because at least in vanilla you can go and wear cloth gear and you can wear mail gear, but remember that in Cataclysm you get 5% less stats, 5% bonus stats when you use the correct armor type. So if you're using mail, if you're using, I don't know, if you're a hunter and you are using leather instead of mail, you lose that 5% bonus, and that is almost never worth it to be using a leather item, unless it's like a lot better. You're never gonna be using a leather item instead of a mail item. So even if the Holy Paladin could just get some mail, Resto Shaman healing gear, it's still gonna suck for them, because they are gonna work at a 5% disadvantage all the time. It's not really a choice. I don't know why they did it this way, because Resto Shaman gear is everywhere, Resto Druid is everywhere, Resto Holy Priest is everywhere, there is a lot of gear for those. They just threw my Holy Paladin bodies into the under the boss for no reason, so it's pretty good they are getting some love here. There's also this cool item, there is one unique item in this raid, and that's the Sui Slasher. That's gonna be a skinning knife right there. You can put this one on your bags, and it's gonna be the same as a skinning knife. You don't have to carry your boring skinning knife anymore, you can have something a little cooler, a little spicier on it. It gives you 10 skilling skill, which is, I don't know, maybe for when Pandaria Classic comes out and you want to level your skinning a little faster, you can use this one. This is just a reference to the Zulian, I think it's the Zulian Slicer from Zul'Gurub proper back in vanilla. It's a nice Easter egg, that's all it is. I don't know, I just think it's a cool thing to have. Another item you are probably gonna need, like everybody's gonna want out of this place, is gonna be this wand. It has hit and mastery on it. Virtually any caster that can use a wand is gonna want one of these. There is also a two-handed DPS staff right here. Look at this, mastery and crit, agility on it too. So of course this is cat DPS gear right here. A hunter is probably gonna like this one too. Hunters can use staffs, believe it or not. I think it's a cool idea to make it a staff instead of a mace, because if it were a mace only druids could use it, but as a staff both classes can use it. But yeah, overall I think Zul'Gurub and Zulamar are not very impressive. We got nothing to do in Cataclysm until October. Perhaps coming close to the launch I'm gonna try to sneak in a heroic run and get some heroic kills in my belt, I guess. There is also a couple cool money-making methods in Zul'Gurub, and that's probably what's gonna really actually get me to go back to Zul'Gurub and Zul'Gurub in Cataclysm. I need gold to pay for my sub. But overall, unless you really wanna start a new character right now in Cataclysm, I see no good reason why you should come back to Zul'Gurub and Zul'Gurub. You're gonna have to wait until October to have something worth doing right now. On the flip side, hey, you wanna reroll, you are tired of your class, you didn't like it at all for whatever reason, you're that poor fool that chose to play a prot warrior, and now you realize that it's not gonna get better after you get 372 gear and still suck. What a better time to reroll. I think it's your chance. You may wanna do it now. Subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.